at the very basic level, the audience research piece depends on measurement and identifying who those people are. So we have a common base, and we can, just map out reach and frequency in GRPs and optimize against it. And in the digital environment, in the connected TV environment, there are different models available now on what constitutes as an identity. And we are in the process of working with our partners to evaluate and validate these. A lot of these are modeled out using third-party data and or their first-party data, and we need to check the validity of this data set. For instance, we do still see discrepancies in whether the ads are even being captured based on the different ACR technologies. So there's a lot of work to be done, and my team is in the process of doing the work with partners to see if this identity story actually matches up. Because everybody's modeling, it's still a black box, and you have to take people at their word because they're all big companies or small companies. And that's definitely a work stream that we're working on. And then comes the big piece about attribution. Now, for a lot of video companies, and if you look at, if you're an auto advertiser, attribution is relatively easier compared to a CPG advertiser with a lot of offline, sales and not much data. Everybody needs milk, for instance, or soap. So that closing the loop is definitely a challenge, and that's again something that keeps us busy to try and solve for with our partners. We are hoping to figure out best practices and try and standardize how identity is being solved for across partners. The reality is, in today's environment, there is no one partner who can solve identity across everything. You have the walled gardens. I mean, some claim to, but you have the walled gardens, and then you have different partners with their own data. And where we want to get to in a year's time is to have a consistent understanding of the framework of solving for identity. There are many different ways to do it, and we are diving into it this year right now. So I think it comes down to having the right set of tools and optimizers to work with. Of course, there's the industry default, which is Nielsen, NMI, and it's got limitations to how it's represents the world of streaming and the audience fragmentation. So we have our own tool, M-Screen, which is a global GroupM tool, where we are able to import the curves from the media owners themselves, who we believe in the world of streaming have better data and more real-time data, and they also have technology and experts who can work with us to help make our optimizer better. So we have M-Screen that brings all these curves in, that then allows us to pre-dupe and dedupe and give a more accurate representation of what's going on. In addition, when we talk about video, there is the focus on streaming, but the reality is that we're going to have to redefine the video stack, right? It used to be linear TV, some FEP, I'm talking Hulu's and Roku's, and then we go have YouTube, and that used to be the typical stack that an advertiser would have. Now, if you look at the pandemic and where the growth has been in social, the growth has been in gaming, not just in streaming and TV. So the way we define premium content and the way we define where our video ads appear, it's expanding, driven by the supply and demand issues we have, the way traditionally we used to do business. So the optimizer we have, M-Screen, allows us to bring all these curves in and stack up all these providers of video with their costs and their reach, and build what would be the optimum reach curve. That's more realistic representation of what's happening in consumers' video consumption habit today. It comes down to the reach that you have. First, like I said, for every 2 impressions you're losing of linear, you may have the opportunity to get 1 back with streaming, because 50% of streaming is not ad supported, right? And the ones that are ad supported also limit the inventory that's available for advertising. So we've got to keep that equation in mind. Streaming is not going to solve, you've lost 2 people there. You're probably not going to get the same volume back in the world of streaming at the same prices. So that's something that we've been telling our clients. It's not a like for like replacement right now. So once you have it in mind, then you look at what the curves tell you, what the data tells you on where the eyeballs are, and then you realize there are big players. Obviously you've got YouTube, you've got Hulu, you've got Roku, you've got Amazon coming in big this year. So these are some of the partners that would probably be your, if you had to line it up in a prioritization, apart from your networks and your linear networks and your cable networks that also have FEP options, these would be your typical go-to stack if you're a beginner into this world of streaming. And if the philosophy is I'm following the eyeballs wherever they are, then these these numbers should just play out automatically and your investment will follow.